In our first story, power transmitter Gridco has announced there will be more power cuts as it works to upgrade its systems. The company attributes the recent rampant power outages across the country to ongoing construction works on its transmission systems and says this will continue until July. Corporate Communications Manager at Gridco, Ebenezer Amankwa, has been speaking on PM Express Monday, where he explains a timetable is being worked out for the scheduled outages. We will hear from him shortly, but first, watch this piece about the Dumsor situation in Kumasi.
Social media in recent days have been flooded with updates on power cuts every evening, especially by residents of Kumasi. Whilst some provide picture images, others give video updates.
So once again, the lights are off, and this is Asqua. Whole of Asqua off.
On Thursday evening, for instance, around 7:40, I decided to interview some residents on the situation.
We are losing our customers because of the power outages, because anytime the light goes off, all the customers leave. As soon as evening comes, we start to fear because our food items in the fridge could get spoiled. Our food items get spoiled when they are not refrigerated, and this is collapsing our business.
So a few minutes after these interviews, then the obvious happened. It's pitch darkness here in Kumasi. This has become the reality of residents here in the Shanti region after 8 p.m. almost every day. This is Mama Theresa's shop at Topai. She's forced to make do with this light source as she angrily packs and gets ready to close the shop. It is now 8 p.m., but for the lights out, this is the time her business booms.
I am very unhappy with the recent power fluctuations. At the least chance, the light goes off. Now even the fridge I used to run my small business is spoiled.
For weeks now, residents here in Kumasi have had to endure this situation. Earlier this year, Gridco brought in a transformer from Accra to be installed in Ahumaso to address this challenge. But that has had little impact, hence the resumption of work on the construction of an emergency response plan at Ejiso Krapa. Engineer Joshua Amwakoba is the CEO of Gridco.
And this line will serve as a bypass to the north so that the power or the load will not pass through the main Kumasi substation, which gets overloaded, and then some of the feeders have to be tripped off. We are also going to install what we call the static VAR compensator to sustain the voltages in Kumasi. The Ameri plant in Takrady will be relocated to Kumasi during this same year. And when we finish this line, the phenomenon of the low voltages would minimize drastically to the extent that there wouldn't be no outages in Kumasi.
Installation of the project is expected to reduce voltage loss that has resulted in power outages in the Ashanti region. Until the project is completed by August, the power problem will persist. Mr. Mwakoba has appealed to residents of Kumasi to be patient for a while.
And in our estimation, this line will be completed end of June, middle of August, thereabouts. But until that, we will still have some, let me put it, skirmishes of power outages in Kumasi. So we want the people in Kumasi to bear with us.
Contractors Keck International say it is the third part of a 330 kV 3-line installation from Kumasi to Bolgatanga. Prince Apia reporting.
We can now hear from Corporate Communications Manager at GridCo, Ebenezer Amankwa.
When you look across the value chain, there are key projects ongoing just to boost transmission accessibility, reliability, and also distribution. And these are projects that have required some outages to be conducted. The contractors are asking for some outages at some particular phases of the project in order to put them into the entire transmission line to ensure completion by the first half of this year. And so these are the areas where we are looking at a discussion with the key stakeholders like ECG and NETCO, so we can arrive at some appreciable timetable to communicate where there's a need for outages to happen to the affected areas in terms of duration and even timeline.
Okay.
But as we speak, I think the general situation is that there's enough generation that would meet demand, except that this inherent solved with the projects that are ongoing, aiming for a first half completion of this year.
Okay, so if this is first quarter, you say the timeline is to finish all these upgrades by first quarter?
No, first half, which is the second quarter. So by end of July, these key projects have been earmarked to be completed in order to ease the challenges that are causing some of the intermittent issues in the value chain.
Now, former Deputy Power Minister under the erstwhile NDC administration and now ranking member on Parliament's Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapor, is attributing the woes of GridCo leading to the frequent power outages to political interference from the Akufo-Addo-led administration.
GridCo could borrow on its own balance sheet without government support when we were leaving office in 2016. Because in 2016, GridCo made a profit of 69 million. So it means that they had turned around and they were now beginning. From 2016, 2017, they made a loss of 31 million. 2018, they skyrocketed to 114 million.
And what do you attribute that to?
Just a moment. It means that the losses increased by 267% in 1 year. Political influence, that's what I attribute it to. Because you make the claim that you are a sensitive government, you are reducing tariffs, the people are happy. Now 2 years, 3 years down the lane, you're having an erratic supply of power. People's refrigerators, air conditioners, and all kinds of gadgets are getting spoiled. So the little they would have saved on that, they are spending more today.
Are you advocating for an increase in tariffs?
I am not. I'm saying that let there be transparency. Let's take the politics off the management of the electricity sector.
Now, on his part, Executive Director at the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP Ben Boache, says much of the challenges of GridCo are financial, stressing that the company is financially stressed and unable to meet its commitments.
We know that lack of investment into the transmission system is what is occasioning the trips that we are seeing today, and it's been beckoning for a while now. And I mean, we have maintained that electricity is business, right? So you have to treat it as such and allow the value chain to be able to pay for itself. You generate, you transmit, you distribute, you raise money at that end to feed the whole industry. And for so long, we've been struggling to pull money from the distribution end to be able to pay for transmission and generation. And that problem is really what we have to deal with. And the commitment to deal with that hasn't really been there. So GridCo is financially stressed.
Now, they dropped out of school for various reasons at very young ages. These teenage mothers now regret curtailing their education in search of work. Some of them, with one or more children, lament their inability to continue school has caused them more harm than good. JoyNews' Mohammed Mahmoud Nuruddin engaged some of them who migrated from northern parts of the country to Kumasi to carry luggage.
Bibi Abdullahi, Mudra Mohammed and Nadia Al-Hassan all gave birth at tender ages in the slum they live. They were enticed with gifts by their children's fathers. Since then, their lives have turned worse off. At age 19, Bibi Abdullahi is already a mother of two, a primary 4 dropout who was betrothed to a man at an early age.
I would have liked to be able to go to school because whenever I see any of my colleagues who continued school, I get sad. I wish I was at their level.
It is becoming increasingly difficult for Bibi to find a sustainable livelihood each passing day. Hardship and her parents' inability to take care of her brought her to Kumasi from Yamo Karaga in the Karaga district of the northern region. Bibi struggles to make her ends meet.
I wish I could get support somewhere to learn vocational training to be self-employed in the future.
Mudra Mohammed has one child. She left school 3 years ago and she is now a kayaye in Kumasi where she carries luggage to survive. Mudra's inability to comprehend what was taught in class pushed her out of school.
The reason why I dropped out of school was because I wasn't concentrating on my studies. My parents were spending a lot of money, so I thought that it was better for me to quit. I dropped out of school in JHS 2. Now, I wish I could go back, but I cannot.
3 years ago, she was in JHS2 at Zugu Junior High School in the Kombongo district of the northern region. She abandoned education because she didn't want to disappoint her parents. Perchance, after the basic education certificate examination,
I regretted it because I would love to be someone someday or a teacher. Every time I pass students, I stop and watch them because it always reminds me of my days in school. I have regretted.
English cannot speak. Most girls like her migrate into the cities at an average age of 9 without their parents' consent. Here, it is a case of survival of the fittest.
Begin 18, 17. From
18, 17, and even 10 or 9 years old girls come here to carry luggage. It hurts. They abandon school to come and carry luggage. It is heartbreaking.
Between 18 to 19 and 10 years, no swap up or just swap up.
Nadia Al-Hassan is 19 and has a child. She and Mudra are on the same page. Their inability to comprehend what was taught in the classroom frustrated them out of school. Nadia comes from Yongduni, a suburb of Tamale in the northern region.
I have also regretted because I would have got all I wanted today. I need an organization to assist me to learn a skill.
Life was tough for Nadia and she decided to travel to Kumasi to enroll herself in business. Unfortunately, things are now backwards She wants to use her experience to inspire young girls to focus on their studies.
I wouldn't want my siblings to suffer sin because cost of living here is very high.
Amina Abbas has been in the head porter business for many years. Poverty and lack of jobs in the north is the primary cause of her migration. She laments how some men in the slum take advantage of young girls to sleep with them, which always leads to pregnancy.
Poverty is the reason a man would lie to them that he will marry them until they realize that they are pregnant. Some are too young to decide for themselves. When they see 10 cedis, they think they have everything.
Zainab Abubakar Fufana is a UK-trained psychologist. She believes creating well-paying jobs in areas where these young girls migrate from could end the menace. She urges the government to construct vocational training centers that will train the girls.
Need to be educated in terms of their skills. Some of them have been blessed with innate ability to do certain things for themselves, like arts, creativity, designing, and etc. They can also, initiate and help in opening smaller base factories within the rural community, such as uniform factories. We have free education in the system. They provide free uniform for children, for them to be able to, cover themselves to schools. So therefore, the contract that has been given to others, individuals to sew school uniforms for these government schools can be directed straight into the rural communities for them to be supported and trained to sew. Some of them can start learning by cutting, materials, stitching, and all those things can also educate these children within the rural community. And support should also be given, such as every week they should have an income. When they have income within the factory, like packaging, clearing, stitching, putting the thread in the machines, oiling, greasing, and all those things can help them to stay within their rural communities.
Amina supports Madam Fufana's suggestion as a sure way to end their plight.
Because they themselves won't share womb, but I might know on more saying Korano Mobahana,
Until a permanent solution is provided to these girls, they would continue to carry loads that are harmful to their health, while others continue to rely on men for their livelihood. A report by Mohamed Nuruddin.
Now, Dr. Esmeralda Mamfo is senior lecturer at the Department of Sociology and Social Work at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. She joins in via Zoom on this situation. Dr. Mamfo, thanks so much for your time. So I listed a couple of the reasons I heard. Some mentioned poverty, some mentioned jobs, some mentioned lack of training, and some also said that they weren't connecting with the education they were receiving in the classroom. In all of these reasons, which would you say is most paramount?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on your program. I think each one is very relevant, and it actually depends on where exactly they are coming from. And so, what they are referring to is our structural problems that we have. And as a country, we have to try and curb the situation. I think I like what the psychologist said, that if we put things in place from the source of the communities they are coming from, they will resist the temptation of moving to the urban centers. And so, because the main reason is that once there's demand, there will be supply. That is it. Yeah. So if the urban centers are made unattractive, and where they are made more attractive, I think they will stay.
Okay.
We will have these problems not.
When you say if the urban centers are more attractive, they won't come. They will come, definitely. How do we make the urban centers less attractive to these people living in rural Ghana?
Yeah, I think the main reason, the short story of their moving is about poverty, but that's the short story of it. So then they move away from that situation and come to a place that supposedly is better. But then, as the lady in the documentary showed, then she shows the greener pasture that she was looking for. She comes and it's not as green as they thought, you know. So then, how do you go back? And for me, my biggest worry is the children. The children that are also migrating from the rural areas to the urban centers. That's the biggest problem. Because the adults, it's a decision they've made. But for the children, they are pushed harder to come. And then they face a lot more challenges than the adults. So that's a very big problem. So, and she mentioned that, I like the idea that she admitted herself that she did not take her education serious. And I think that's a good message for all of them, that they should take their education serious, irrespective of where they are having it, but they should take it serious, and it will give them better opportunities than them moving to the supposedly greener pasture that actually doesn't exist. Okay.
Would you say that in recent times, these numbers, or the numbers of people coming to urban centers are increasing or they are decreasing? I'm asking this because government set up the One District, One Factory program as sort of a way to get people to stay in the rural areas and farm and work in these factories. That was also the thinking behind the Planting for Food and Jobs program. Would you say these programs have had any sort of impact on the rural-urban drift we have in the country?
Well, gentlemen, unfortunately, I don't have the data, so I can't speak to that. So I'm sorry, I don't have the data, so I can't speak to whether it has curtailed or it has improved. You know, I think the whole idea was if we have more districts there, it will create an avenue. And I don't have the data. I'm sorry, so I can't.
It's fine. It's fine. But is the situation even avoidable? I've read a World Bank report that shows that in a few decades, half of Africa's population will be living in urban centers. So would you say that this situation is even avoidable in the first place? Should we not rather be making these urban destinations more conducive for job creation and economic growth?
No, you see, what is trying to show that, for instance, Kumasi is already urban. So Kumasi become mega urban. And where they are coming for where it's a rural, it's also becoming urban. You get it? So it's not that we should make one place more attractive than other. Why don't we make where they are also coming from attractive? And we can make that attractive if we have job opportunities. We create the factories so people can live in there. So if you are coming from the north, how do we make shea butter that they use, that they are actually very comfortable with? How don't we make the quality of it, improve the quality, the price goes up, so it becomes attractive. People will stay where they are.
Yeah, it is. It's very insightful. And whenever I have these social protection conversations, there are always links to economics and international trade. I'm asking, do you think that we have people from your side, the side of sociology, social work, do you think you have enough of a voice when policies to protect Ghanaians are being put together?
It depends on which policy you're talking about. I must say that. It depends on which policy you're talking about. And then I think your question is more, I'm an academic, so whether academics are involved in some of the policies. You see, for me in Kumasi, we're a bit far away from the policymakers. And so I think that Accra, I believe that those in Accra are closer. But that being said, sometimes we also get involved, but sometimes we don't. And that's the unfortunate bit, that academics are sometimes left out in the policy design. I'm not saying always, I'm saying sometimes. So maybe, yes, maybe we would like to see more academic involvement in policy development. And then for me, I also like to see the practitioners, the stakeholders themselves. You know, the stakeholders who are actually part of this discussion, because you know, we want to make a case for the Kayayis. How involved are they? We shouldn't assume because they're illiterate. No, some of them are not illiterate, actually. They are illiterate. So we need to involve stakeholders more in development of policies. And then at the same time, I also believe that we should be a bit more futuristic. We shouldn't do same old. I think COVID has taught us this, that we shouldn't do things the normal way. Now we are at a threshold of thinking out of the box. We have to do more of that. That's what we have to do.
Okay. You mentioned investments in shea butter production, for instance. What are some of those low-hanging fruits, those opportunities that exist in rural Ghana? Particularly, I like to name the North because facts have shown that the gap, the development gap and the wealth gap that exists between northern rural communities and southern urban communities is very wide. So what are some of those opportunities that exist that even the private sector can invest in to help better the lives of these people?
Yeah, I think, you know, you mentioned that we are doing more of international trade. I think it's actually not true. You know, now, for instance, shea butter is being made more attractive, maybe the packaging and all that, and people are going in there. I think we need more people to go in, and if we get more people to go in, and then we enhance the skills of the locals, not for them just to pick the seeds, but now also maybe the district assemblies, there's the bright ones among them. They come and do I don't know. I want to use the right word. You know, this science of it, so that they become experts themselves. You know, we have the cosmetologists themselves from the north. It will help us, and that's not the only product that they have. Maybe that's a popular one, but then they have the dawa, you know, all those things. I mean, they're actually very good products. And, you know, I'm saying this because we are now, the world is actually now going organic. And there, if you go, there are lots of things that are organic. And I'm not a business person. But then I think the North has always been open. But if we, from the South, and all those who are maybe listening and they want to help the Kai, we should go in there with a more of an entrepreneurial way of doing things and involve them themselves. You know, involve the women. And let me tell you, this is not new. It's been done. But sometimes, you know, as human beings, some people want quick money. So why don't I just come to Kumasi and come and I'll be a porter for 2 or 3 days or 2 months and I'll get XYZ amount of money. That's what you're told. And then when you come to Kumasi, you realize that it will take you more than 2 months. It will take you about 2 years. You know, then we have a problem.
Dr. Manfo, thank you very much for joining us this morning on News Desk. We're very grateful for your time. You're live on JoyNews Desk. Still to come with the bulletin, we will engage the ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament, Peter Notukotwe, on ways to sanction publishers who put out bigoted content.
The publishers must note that the Ewe people have rich cultures, including right to succession of chiefs, and nowhere in every land that the ballot is used to select a chief.
In our Ghana Month series also, we will look at various meats used in Ghanaian dishes.
And also,
looks yummy. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, government has revealed that it will lay a new bill in Parliament which seeks to empower the Ghana Book Development Council to sanction publishers who put out bigoted content. The two publishers, including Bedun Cancer Publications, incur the wrath of the public, with books mainly described as offensive description of errors and inaccurate recollection of Ghana's history. Despite calls for immediate sanctions against the publishers, Education Minister Dr. Yao Educhum, in an interview on Joy Prime's On the Record, explained the said action can only be taken after the passage of a new law.
all the books that have been approved, not the schools. And there are a number of books that have been approved now. And if they contact the publisher can print for them books that are already approved by NACA. So there's no reason why they should buy books that are not approved.
When were they approved?
Oh, over the last 6 months, almost 1 year. So many books have been approved by NACA.
So how is
there's
it that
no
these
reason
books
why
ended up in the hands of students?
I mean, the authors and the publishers have come to apologize that they circumvented the NACA process. Because if you submit your books to NACA and NACA says go and review because I don't like something about you, you don't go ahead to print. You cannot do so. If they were on the shelves of schools, our school inspectorate authority will order that they are removed. So the bottom line for us is that what they did was inexcusable. If they wanted, if schools wanted or anybody wants a book that is approved, we have so many books that have been approved. So the excuse that because there were no books, no. I think those who bought them probably bought them unaware of the process that NACA has put in place. And those who publish them are the ones who have done something egregious, knowing that their books were not approved by NACA.
So what's the action going to be taken against these publishers?
If the action is this, I think I said it on the floor of Parliament. There's an organization called Ghana Book Development Council. They are the ones clothed with authority to do enforcement and to prescribe sanctions of anybody that goes against the rules of NACA. Unfortunately, during the last Parliament, and there were some issues, so the process had to be suspended, and now it's coming back. So Parliament, once it is approved expeditiously, will then clothe them with the authority to prescribe, to seriously prescribe sanctions.
So till then, Bedouin Council publications will not be sanctioned?
No, I mean, the thing is this, they pull them from the market. They've apologized to Ghanaians and they pull them from the market.
But you said that what they did was inexcusable and egregious.
Yeah, but we're a nation of laws. I can't just go and say, I'm the Minister for Education, how dare you put these books here? The law should take its course. And the system that we have is the one that deals with what is not acceptable. So we are in a democratic dispensation. Many years ago, you have ordered the military or somebody to just go and put, no, you have to use the legal process to right wrongs.
Joining us via Zoom is Ranking Member on the Education Committee of Parliament, Peter Nochukotoi. Welcome, sir. Do you agree with the Minister's conclusion that action can only be taken after the GBDC bill is passed?
Thank you very much and good morning. Well, I don't agree with him because as a ministry, you have some responsibility to carry out an event of this nature. This is because we all that did not give any mandate to NACA, that is a National Curriculum and Assessment Authority, to penalize or impose sanctions on any defaulting publisher. But they can do so in the interim and then make sure that the publication is stopped and any other thing that needs to be done is done. But if it is not done, then the ministry still has a role to play. That is how I see it.
If I heard you correctly, your expectation is that even though NACA may not be clothed with the requisite powers to sanction these publishing houses, they can still carry out some interim measures whilst we wait for the law to be passed.
Exactly so, because they have given authority to the publishers to come and then apply to publish books. So if you have given somebody a temporary or interim license to publish a book, and he or she has gone against the rules of your engagement, it is your responsibility to bring that person to book and then impose sanctions on the person. So that is what the ministry should have done in the interim in collaboration with NACA. So they still have a responsibility in this matter. Not until the bill on the Ghana Development Council is brought before Parliament, they must take some action immediately.
So let's pretend that that is what the ministry will do anyway, waiting for the GBDC bill. How long would it take then for that bill to travel its full lifetime and justice to be done?
Yeah, the bill was laid in Parliament by the immediate past Minister for Education. And according to Ghana Publishers Association and Ghana Writers Association, they had not been consulted fully before the bill was brought. So the committee suspended work on the consideration of the bill. And by our rules, once that Parliament ended on 6 January 2021, a new bill has to be introduced again. And how long that will take the ministry to lay that bill is now in the court of the Ministry of Education. And when it is brought back to Parliament and laid,
Right, Peter Nochukotwe there, he's ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament. He has already told us that he disagrees with Dr. Yao Osei Edichum's assessment of the current situation. He believes that some interim measures can still be taken by NACA, the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, which is the authority that is supposed to approve any published books. Mr. Nochukotwe has rejoined us. Sir, you were just about to tell us that if they bring it to Parliament, it would take you what amount of time to finish deliberations on that?
Yes, exactly so, because we will have to pass through some stages. For instance, we'll call a stakeholder engagement, receive a memorandum from them, then go through, then we'll go into consideration of the bill before we take it back to Parliament for final consideration and to be passed. So it should be a period of about 4 to 6 months before the bill will come to pass, unless it is put under certificate of emergency. Yeah.
Right. Now, an urgent question was filed some 2 weeks ago to summon the minister to the floor of Parliament to answer questions on the issue. What became of this, and will the minority or the committee take any action on this matter?
Yeah, the minister responded. He came and answered the question asked by Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa. And when it was allowed to add additional or supplementary questions, I requested the minister when the bill will be laid, and he promised that it will be laid as quickly as possible. Then again, I asked for a copy of the curriculum, because it is the curriculum on which the textbooks have been written by those publishers. So he promised to make a copy available to the committee. We will study it and then come out with a report or recommendation to the speaker as to what should be done. But in the meantime, the Minister for Education must speed up or take emergency steps to have the bill put before Parliament so that we can pass it as quickly as possible.
Right. Are you then saying that it's your suspicion, Mr. Kotwe, that perhaps the curriculum itself has some bigoted content in there?
That is my suspicion, because if a writer is going to write a textbook, what is important is must get the curriculum based on which the various subjects will be selected and then the textbooks are written. So that is why I have asked for a copy of the curriculum. We will assess it to find out and then put the textbooks side by side, the curriculum, and we'll find out whether those things that are contained in the textbook are found in the curriculum, and then we will make our report available. But one thing I have been telling the Ministry of Education is that the duty of the curriculum or NACA is to make sure
that they develop textbooks based on the curriculum that is outdoors, so that we'll have a uniform textbook. A student or a pupil in the Upper East region should have the same textbook as somebody in the Volta region. So they will have a level ground. They will have the same content that will be taught them. But if we allow anybody to write anything, different schools will be using different textbooks. At that basic level, it is not good for us. That's what I've been pressing that the Ministry of Education should do, as we were doing in the past.
Thank you very much, Peter Notukotwe, for joining us this morning. He is ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament. You're still live on JoyNews Desk with me, Daniel Daz. The stories that we've covered so far. Be expecting a timetable for power outages from the Ghana Grid Company Limited, Gridco. We have also taken you to Kumasi, where we visited with some head porters or Kayaye who want to go back to school. We also just finished speaking with the ranking member for the Education Committee of Parliament, Peter Notukotwe, who says action can be taken against Bedun Cancer Publications and all other publishers of books which have been deemed as having bigoted content. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. This morning, we are getting hints that government's $5 billion Eurobond has been oversubscribed by investors. The Finance Ministry is expected to put out a statement to give full details. But here is Dr. Gideon Boako, who is Economic Advisor to the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, filling us in.
I know there was a subscription of the bond, but government did not sign up for the total book value that was available. Of course, I mean, you don't expect government to take whatever is thrown at her. So usually you go to the bond market and then you give indication of the ceiling that you want, and different investors come with an oversubscription or sometimes under subscription. But in this case, because of the confidence in the economy, despite COVID-19, the international investors saw the need to subscribe to government's bond, and it was oversubscribed. But government definitely will not take everything, the total book value, because sometimes you also need to be careful to see what composition of investors are purchasing your bond. If you have a lot of hedge funds in your bond, you ought to be careful so that you don't sign up for those ones which will come back today or tomorrow to say we are selling the bonds to distort the market. And that's part of the reason why governments may not need to sign up for the total book value. But I know there was a subscription. There's one thing that is also coming out of this Eurobond market appearance. That Ghana is coming out as the first country in Africa to have issued a zero coupon bond.
Now, the Association of Ghana Industries has raised concern about the high cost of electricity, which is affecting production. According to the association, this makes them less competitive under the Continental Free Trade Area compared with other African countries. Vice President Humphrey Eyim Dake has been speaking at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting held in Accra.
Through the Obatampa project, one critical thing that we see under the competitiveness that will stimulate the entire chain or bring the coordination of the entire chain under the Obatampa project. But for funding, it's what we call, it's the cost of electricity. For manufacturers and industrial players, one critical thing over the years that we have spoken about and advocated for has to do with the crop subsidy of the crop subsidy concept of electricity management, where we have industry subsidizing the domestic market. In other jurisdictions, including the sub-Saharan Africa and other neighbors close to us, you find the reverse. This is so critical as a success factor because we believe it has a structural underpinning issues that any government that comes into power with every good intention can be limited if this subject matter is not handled properly.
And that's it for business. There's more to come after this break.
Joy News, your most credible news source, is available on digital TV, Multi TV, DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144, and also streaming on myjoyonline.com.